On the Track is a monthly web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
So, Hennis, what are we going to do as an introduction this episode? I've run out of ideas.
Well, I think it would be rather nice if we actually showed Ken Jevons' tribute to the residents. Dum dum dum!
Here I come, Constantinople, here I come, Constantinople, I am coming, Constantinople, here I come. Here I come, Constantinople, here I come, Constantinople, I am coming, Constantinople, here I come. All the leaves are off of the oak and all the sheep have followed the spoken word. I'm coming, Constantinople, here I come. Here I stand out in the open, all my friends are with me and hoping. Here I come, Constantinople, here I come.
Ooh, that's really Byzantine.
I really like the old credits.
Richard Freeman has been out and about quite a lot recently, and a couple of weeks ago he was at the Fortean Film Festival in Gloucester.
So, Moffy, you're the main force behind all this, aren't you?
I'm part of it. I think Matt Everett can take some of the credit, but yeah, you can call me co-founder, co-director, Dog's Body. I respond to lots of names, but yeah, it's been so far so good. You know, I think everyone who's come along to date and the selections that we've been able to put on have been quite impressive.
So how long was it in the planning?
It was conceived as a concept very, very quickly, and between myself and a couple of people you know very well at the CFZ, we had ourselves a conversation, and I said, I've got 3 words for you: Fortean Film Festival. And then, you know, reactions were quite positive, so we set things in motion very quickly. So it was only about 4 months ago, really, from concept to event.
That's a pretty short amount of time.
During the backlog of the pandemic and everything else, I think, you know, all things considered, we can be quite pleased with how things have turned out today.
And how was it funded?
From mine and Matt's pocket
to
this point.
Yeah.
But, you know, that said, I think we will turn a small profit, and it will make it viable to continue next year, and, you know, hopefully bigger and better.
Yeah. Well, the weird weekend, the conference the CFZ did, when that first started we made a loss, and the second year we broke even, and it was the third year before we started to make a profit.
Well, if we can start in profit, then that's a better position, you know. And I think we will just about. So you know, look out. We'll be planning next year's event soon, you know, and there'll be announcements, I'm sure, on Film Freeway in the coming month about when we'll be opening another season for more film submissions, and what date we'll be planning to do the screening on in the next year.
I was surprised at how much fiction was here, because when I heard about it, I thought it was all going to be documentaries.
Well, the documentary categories were very strong, but in terms of the fiction content, short films seemed to flow in quite readily. There was a lot of short films that fit the Fortean subject, albeit in a fictitious vein. There were some horror films, some thrillers, some science fiction, and whilst not factual, there was too good to exclude, if you know what I mean.
I've been really impressed at some of the quality of some of these ones, particularly the big cat ones, are so professionally made. They were absolutely brilliant, worthy of television.
Well, that's nice to hear, particularly that I'm on the production team for 2 of them. So that's really nice of you to say,
Rich. That's as good as anything you would see. I won't say the BBC, because you never see anything good on the BBC now, but as good as you'd see on a decent channel like Channel 4.
Well, yeah, perhaps. I mean, that would be really an accolade to to get a programme reach that sort of network. But I mean, most of the design of the presentation of those documentaries was designed in the vein of the History Channel, the Sci-Fi Channel, the Travel Channel, those usual names which crop up when you're looking for cryptozoological programs or things that might fit that bill. So they were very much designed with those networks in mind, and negotiations continue, let's just say.
Good. Well, the winners, do they get anything other than kudos?
There is a certificate for the Best of Show, Judges Award for Best of Show, and beyond that, no. Obviously the award laurels can be used on promotional materials, posters and trailers and things of that nature. And as I said, next year we're planning to make things bigger and better, so hopefully there will be some actual physical trophies available for next year's event.
I hope it becomes an annual event and goes on for donkeys.
I too. Thank you, Rich. That's
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Pleasure.
Thanks. So, guys, who are you and what's your film about?
So my name's Jordan.
Oh, I'm Kyle.
Yeah.
And we made Fact or Fiction, the Norfolk Sea Creature, which is a film about a sea creature that's said to live on the Norfolk coast. So it's an urban legend. It's been spotted as far as Haysborough to Great Yarmouth, and it's quite I'd say it's quite sort of like people have seen it about, haven't they? They've claimed to have seen it. I mean, you claim to have seen it as well, actually, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. I've seen it with my own eyes. Yeah.
There you go.
And what did it look like? What was the description of this creature?
Well, I just got sort of a glimpse of it really. I just sort of saw its head poking out of the water. It had these big eyes that were just kind of staring at me, and then it was gone.
And how far away were you from the creature when you saw it?
I was probably about, say, 20 metres away.
Yeah, and whereabouts was it? Where's the location?
It was on Winterton. Winterton is a village near where I live, on the beach, on the dunes. I was standing on the dunes, it was in the sea.
Yeah. And could this just have been a seal, a large seal or something?
Absolutely not, no. I don't think so.
A lot of people have said that though, haven't they? They've said that it could be a seal. A lot of people have said that. But we started the idea of making the film because Huey the Druid, he's a guy we know who's very into CB radios, and he actually he spoke to a guy called Sea Dog out on a lightship on the CB radio, and you told me one night he was just telling us a story about this. He was talking to a guy on a ship out by sort of Scroby Sands, which is the sea.
Yeah, I know Scroby Sands. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And he was talking about this Sea Dog on this boat. Next thing you know, he heard like a sort of whooshing noise, and that was it. The signal was gone, and he never heard from Sea Dog again. And he claims that there is something out there. His father used to say to him all the time, "Beware the Snickums," which is low sort of tide.
Yeah.
So we after sort of hearing his story, I just recorded him and let him just talk. And
so he was talking to this guy over CB radio, and then he just went dead, and
nothing. That was it. Nothing. And he's never heard from him again. But sometimes he does literally turns the radio on just to see if he could hear him coming through, because he might be coming through. So it's a bit of a strange one. It really is strange, because the more we sort of I took my camera out to sort of try and see if I could see anything myself, because the idea of a sea creature on the Norfolk coast is just absurd, to be honest.
It's not unprecedented. There've been sea serpent sightings there before.
But
in Eccles,
the more we filmed, the more people started.
There's a lot from the 1930s.
Yeah,
and going up to the Yorkshire coast as well.
This is the thing, we found out a lot of people came forward when we started filming things. A lot of them came forward. So
we didn't know if they were winding us up or if they're serious.
No.
And how did the witnesses describe it?
It varied, sort of everything sort of varied, isn't it? We've got sort of lizard, sort of sea monster type of
snakes.
It's really the Eccles sea serpent was another sort of description we had. So it's a bit of a talking point in Great Yarmouth at the moment, from where we're from. It's a bit of a talking point as to whether something is out there or not. There's a man out there as well who claims that another man who claims he's seen it, and he warns people on the beach not to go anywhere.
Got this big sandwich board thing.
Never to go near it. It was great, because when we started talking to him, it was fascinating, because he's convinced that something's out there. He's trying to warn all of it.
Going back to your sighting, what colour was it?
I mean, it was. The sun was quite low in the sky. It was more of a silhouette. It was like a kind of dark greenish black colour.
Yeah, and the shape of the head.
See, I didn't think it was a seal, because it had like this something on the back of his head, almost like a fin or something.
Yeah, and what sort of size would the head be, would you say?
I mean, that's quite a distance. Probably maybe a kind of here.
No, not that big
maybe,
then.
no,
Yeah. Yeah, you just saw the head, none of the body.
Yeah, that's it.
So any theories as to what it actually is? Or are people just mistaking something mundane?
Who knows?
I think...
Well, we like to let our audience be the judge of that when
Yeah.
they see the film.
Yeah, I think there could be something like there could be not, but as I say, that's the reason it is fact or fiction. We let the audience decide.
Okay, well thanks guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, I was getting really excited about that interview as I was editing it, but then Richard took the air out of my tyres or the wind out of my sails by telling me it was all a spoof. They were stringing him along because the film, which apparently is massively entertaining, is a Monty Python-esque surreal spoof featuring little dogs with hats and all sorts of other things. So that proves that one should never take anything at face value. We're going to be back in the next episode with more stuff from the Fortean Film Festival, and we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Big Cat documentary that Mothi and Matt have put together, and a less serious project featuring many of the same people, which has equally good production values and is equally as entertaining. So I look forward to telling you all about that next time. And now over once again to the lovely Katy Elizabeth, who is a relatively new friend of us all, but she is now definitely part of the last gang in town, and we're very proud to have her aboard. How big is your research vessel?
It's around 21 feet. So it's good size.
Yeah, that's fun.
But it's not too big. I didn't want to get anything too large because I haven't rented a slip for it yet where I can keep it all the time on the water. Because where I live on the lake, I live around 3 miles from the lake, so I'm not exactly waterfront here, which lowers my taxes that I have to pay every year because waterfront taxes are not cheap. But yeah, as far as that, I mean, it's perfect size because it has the cabin we can sleep in, spend overnights, and there's a little window in the little cubby hole where I sleep down below, where I could put my hydrophone cord out the window and off the side of the boat, so I can lay there and in my nice fluffy blankies and listen with the hydrophone in comfort.
Well, that sounds like an eminently civilized way to do it.
It is, because we have a smaller research vessel too. That was our original. That one was called Kelpie, and this one is Kelpie 2. So the original Kelpie, she was only 17 feet long, and I had spent one overnight out on the lake, and I'll tell you what, it was really eerie because we didn't have a cabin. We were just out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of a bay with nothing around. And it wasn't that comfortable, you know. I mean, you want to be able to use the bathroom, not a bucket, because that was the alternative at the time.
Especially when you don't know what's swimming in the water beneath you just about the surface.
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy. I mean, you're out there in the dark. And the weird thing about Lake Champlain that I've noticed, and I'm a boater on the lake all the time, I never really see boats out at night on the lake. I mean, once in a while, like if it's a holiday, like we just had Labor Day, and there was a lot of boats out at night. But for the most part, you don't see people out in the middle of the lake at nighttime. And I think they're probably smart to not be. So, I mean, the research vessel is great because we upgraded to something bigger. And I just wanted to be able to have more room for the equipment. We have a new ROV that goes down 325 feet. So I've been experimenting and practicing with the ROV. The clarity is not always great in Lake Champlain because of the blue-green algae content in the summer. But I think we're going to get something on that ROV. I just have this feeling that we will. So I've been doing a lot of test runs with that, getting it down so many feet, and because technology, as you know, doesn't always work, and it goes through my iPhone, and the controls on the iPhone I'm not too crazy about, so I'm going to have to get a joystick that goes underneath the iPhone, and the iPhone as a monitor to record. So it's a learning curve, that's for sure, for something new.
How big's the range of the ROV?
It goes down about 350 feet deep at the most, and about 350 feet out if you stayed at constant level in the water as well. It's on a tether, thank God, because if it was wireless, it would not be a good idea. It'd be like, where the hell did it go? So it's interesting, and it's bright orange. It's like a neon orange color. And I just keep imagining, I'm like, I wonder if that color and the sound will strike their interest. I mean, imagine getting a video of them swimming up to it, being like, hey, I'm right here. That would be a dream.
Well, at the very least, it gives you a glimpse of an underwater world that you wouldn't see otherwise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many things down in the lake that, I mean, someone had told me, I haven't even looked this up, but someone had told me they just found a new shipwreck in the lake maybe like 3 weeks ago. So I'm gonna have to follow up on that story. I heard it through a friend of mine. I didn't see anything on the news, although I don't like to watch the news because most of the time it's negative stuff. But I mean, there's over 350 shipwrecks in Lake Champlain, and the lake is 120 miles long and 400 feet at its deepest, they say. I've been out with the sonar and I've recorded around 425. So I'm sure there's places there, especially caves and crevices and such, that they don't know about. They run their sonar for the local college and they say, oh, we're taking a bathymetric survey of the bottom. And I know for a fact, one of my friends was scuba diving and he went down into a cave, into another cave, and they're like, oh, there's no caves in Lake Champlain. That is nonsense. There's caves out there for sure. And that sonar cannot penetrate caves. It's not going to happen. Those beams can only go so far. So there's a lot underneath that we don't know about, and I find it really fascinating, especially using the sonar to just see the bathymetric of the bottom. It's amazing. It's like the Grand Canyon. There's so many crevices and bumps, and it's really amazing to see the imagery of that.
It's one of the other things that Joseph Zaginski was interested in, wasn't it, with the shipwrecks?
Yes.
I've got a book he wrote. Is it Monster Wrecks of Lake Champlain?
Yes, that's it. I haven't even got a chance to read that yet. I'm in the process of getting a copy of that myself. So that'll be an interesting read. And with the sonar, I think the neatest thing, because I've gotten, in 2014, I got the video, I got the echolocation. Each year I've gotten pretty much an echolocation. Like I've got like 4 to 5, 3 to 4, something like that in recordings. And it gets to the point where when you get that much data, you think back and you're like, okay, what year was that? It goes by so fast. I'm not good with remembering years. It's like, oh crap, when did I get that video? When did I get this, And I just feel extremely lucky to even have just a sighting of one of these animals. It's amazing. I feel so blessed. And I think it's because I'm on the lake every single day. I'm always on the lake. And most people are looking for this 100-foot long monster, and that's nonsense. The average size is around 15 to 25 feet, although there's been much larger specimens seen in the lake up to 35 feet. And I believe those individuals are probably very old, grandma or grandpa champ, so to speak. Because, as you know, Greenland sharks can live up to 400 years. Who's to say that these animals can't live the same, being an antediluvian species?
So what do you think they are? This is the big question.
It's a difficult one because I know that there's so many different theories. The most common, the plesiosaur theory. I believe that these animals are not in our known fossil record. Back in 2019, we had gotten some amazing sonar images. We're going along at, I would say, 40 to 45 miles an hour. And we were really cruising because we had the small research vessel out, and the gas gauge, it's an old boat, and the gas gauge was jumping up and down. It still does. And we're like, oh my God, we're almost out of gas. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So we're getting back to the dock to get gas. And I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, I don't want to break down in the middle of the lake. That's not fun. And we were going along, and one of my friends, he's basically on my research team, him and his wife are, they were next to me, and they start screaming, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with them? And they're like, something just came out of the water. It was like 3 feet high. We saw something big and black come out of the water. And I didn't think nothing by it. I just turned around because I wanted to get back to get gas. I'm like, oh, they saw a wave, whatever, you know? So I didn't think nothing by it. And then like 2 minutes go by, and I'm looking at the sonar, and we were in a really sandy area at that point. It was around 164 feet down. And my friend said, what the hell is that on the sonar? And I was like, that's a really strange thing. There was 2 objects on the bottom. And I'm like, that's really strange to see any type of wood debris out here on the sandy bottom. It was really weird, but there is a lot of shipwrecks and such out here. So it's possible, anything is. So I didn't think nothing by it. We get back to the dock, got gas for the next time, and I went home. And in the morning I said, I want to go over those sonar images. So I started scrolling through. There was around 56 images, and I got to this one particular frame, and that's the one that we had captured. I said, well, that's really weird. So I zoomed in, and the object on the right, there's this horse-like head looking right at you. And I'm like, am I like seeing things? I'm sitting there trying to wake up with a coffee. I'm like, I'm not awake yet. I'm losing my mind. And it was just, you could see like this elongate thing, and you could see it's a head with nostrils, and it's not pareidolia. Like, I know by all the reports I've captured, I had a experience too in 2014 where I saw the head and neck come up, and I was with Dennis Hall at the time, who always told me that I've seen the head and neck, and I said, you're full of it, you're making this crap up. And we were sitting there, and at the time I had this really crappy camera, which I don't anymore, because that taught me my lesson. Because if I had that video, what I saw that day, I would be buying probably 10 research vessels. I'd be all set for life, It was just absolutely amazing. He said to me, look in the spotting scope. So I looked in, I said, wow, there's 2 boats across the lake. He's like, no, keep watching them. And I said, you're full of shit. Is what I said to him. I said, you're full of shit. It's not 2 champs, it's 2 boats. And when I said that, the one in the front, I saw this long appendage come up, which I assume it was the neck, and it curled around like a snake would coil. And I'm freaking out. I'm crying, and I got my camera, and it wouldn't zoom. I should have still taken the video. I got so pissed off that I just threw it on the floor of the car. It was just one of those weird, it happened so quickly. And that's the thing. People always say, why didn't you get a video of this? Do you understand the magnitude of when you see something like that? You're not prepared. You're never prepared. I mean, now I think I'll be prepared because I've seen it. I know that they're there. But at the time, it was just, I'd never seen the head and neck. I've seen the back come up. I got the video of that. And when that happened, I was just like, holy crap, what am I seeing? And I thought to myself, if anybody ever saw what I'm seeing, their life would be so changed. And my life was already changed by my first sighting and by getting the other video. But seeing the head and neck come up like that, to me, an animal with a neck that long to come up like that in slow motion, it was just so slow. It was freaking weird. And I said, what I'm doing is so important for this species, because there's no words. There's no words. And I'm just mad at myself that I didn't get that on camera. But I think I will one of these days. It's coming. It's coming. I don't know when. But that animal was just so graceful when I just thought to myself, how the hell is it making its neck go around a loop like that? But you look at snakes, they have specialized vertebrae where they can coil extremely tight. So they must have very, very stable, maybe even side ribs on their vertebrae that, you know, hold their neck together like that, where they're able to hold their head and neck up high, because plesiosaurs supposedly could not do that. So whatever these animals are, I believe they're an ectothermic species, which would also, that also suggests it too, because of the slow motion. Ectotherms move slow, especially if they were down in the water where it was a cooler temperature and they came up to feed and chase after these fish, because what I could see from the head, I could see the head and everything. Once it coiled that neck around, it was like a rigid jawline and it looked just like a horse's head. And when I get the sonar and I saw that, mind you, it was the same location, which is even stranger. When I saw that, I said, oh my God, that's the same exact thing that I saw. I couldn't make out any details. I couldn't see the eyes or the horn-like protuberances on top of the head, which also showed in the sonar image as well. You know, you always think of the horned serpents, you know, talking about the horns on their head. There's some depictions of them being pointy horns like goat horns, but these are rounded and they're folded forward. And they're very similar to the movie Water Horse, Legend of the Deep, which is one of my favorite movies, of course. Crusoe, very similar to Crusoe. They did a great job at the morphology of Crusoe on that movie. Very, very similar.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And as the ghost of Joe Strummer, who is a regular visit to the studio, wants me to remind you, always remember to ring the notification bell. Otherwise, you won't be told when we've got a new show available.
And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it?
And so, ladies and gentlemen, once again, here we are at the end of another show. I'd like to say a big, big, big thank you to everybody involved, particularly this week to Richard Freeman, Graham Inglis, and, of course, Louis, but for whom we would not be able to do the show at all. I'd also like to say a big shout-out to Sarah and to Maxine, and to Charlotte, who's away at college, and I hope you all have happy, jolly times. I'd like to say a big, big thank you to Mossy Whittard and Matt Everett and everybody at the Fortean Film Festival, to Kyle and to Jordan, and to everybody else involved. And, of course, to the lovely Katy Elizabeth. And I think I've remembered everybody, but you must remember I am a silly old man in my dotage, and my memory is much worse than it ever used to be. And I don't know if it is rapidly hardening arteries, years of alcohol and substance abuse, or just the fact that I'm getting old. But I can't remember stuff most of the time, so you'll have to forgive me if I forget things. But, like I said, it's the end of this episode, and we are now in the countdown.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
1 to the next episode, because next episode will be next Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, 7 days' time, and we will all be there agog and moist with anticipation. So until then, be seeing you.